Hello there guys and welcome, it's Niran here, and today, as you can guess, it is time for episode 7 of our Williams Road to Recovery here. I'm in Montreal, in my Williams. This is a track I really love. I'm hoping possibly to be looking at top 5 in this one, I'm not entirely sure. As you can see, I'm just sorting out a race strategy. I will set that to now try and pit on lap 7 for a fresh set of prime tyres, switching from the options. But as I say, this is a track I really love, so I'll be looking for a pretty awesome points haul, but I will need some help from Maldonado if we want to pass Sauber. Nevertheless, it's time for the qualifying report. In Q1, whilst most used primes, Yusufu and his option tyres were fastest over Vettel and Rosberg, with good pace from Perez in 4th. Force India showed good pace as well as Pastor Maldonado's Williams, while there was a huge shock as Jenson Button was eliminated along with Jean-Eric Vergne. In an extremely close Q2, it would be Fernando Alonso once again fastest, keeping up his great form, and of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and a promisingly quick Williams. Both Saubers just missed out on Q3, joined by Di Resta, Ricciardo, Maldonado and Sutil. The shootout was even closer as Lewis Hamilton just snatched pole 7/100ths of a second ahead of Vettel, with Alonso 3rd and a Williams in the top 4 for the first time in over a year, as the top 4 were covered by only 1/10 of a second. So all of this means that Lewis Hamilton is on pole for the Canadian Grand Prix, and Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso in 3rd. The second, the Mercedes, Nico Rosberg, is in 5th, and Felipe Massa, Mark Webber and Kimi Raikkonen, with Sergio Perez in 9th, and the second of the Lotus is Romain Grosjean in 10th. So then, an absolutely incredible qualifying, 4th on the grid. At one stage we were on pole, we got mugged a little bit at the end there by Alonso, Vettel and Hamilton, but here, as you can see, by far our best qualifying of the season, and now 3 times in a row we find ourselves in Q3 in the final shootout. Maldonado way down in 15th. He'll be lucky to get any points there, just ahead of Jenson Button, who had an absolute shocker of a qualifying. We're just ahead of Nico Rosberg there in Mercedes. He'll be looking for a return to form in the title race, but nevertheless 4 lights are on, 5 lights are now on here in Canada. It's one of my favourite tracks, and we are away here, 4th on the grid. Alonso doesn't get a great start, neither does Vettel, but Rosberg with an absolutely awesome start. We're getting mugged off the line, we've been pushed out wide, we have to go all the way around Rosberg and Massa, and now we're on the inside of Vettel, and somehow, from an absolutely abysmal launch compared to people like Rosberg and Massa behind, we find ourselves in 2nd behind only Lewis Hamilton after the first few turns. Down through here, through this even first chicane and down into the 2nd. This is the sector we're very strong at, and this is really, if it was down to just this sector, we would have been on pole. We've gone wide, we've completely missed the apex, and we've now got the Red Bull of Sebastian Vettel all over us. I think there's a Ferrari actually behind. I think Nico Rosberg's been mugged slightly after that awesome start, scything his way through the middle of me and Alonso. Yes, there is a Ferrari actually in 4th. Not sure which one that is. It's probably Felipe Massa based on that start. It is, and he's now gone past Vettel. I don't know how that's happened, but he's bearing down on us now into this hairpin. Hamilton's gained a lot of time on us in this first 3/4 of a lap after we went wide at that 2nd chicane. We're getting a decent exit. Of course, there's no DRS yet, just using the rest of my curves to defend myself from any sort of slipstream attack from Felipe Massa behind. But what a start that was. Up from 4th now, up into 2nd at the end of this first lap. Felipe Massa, 6th to 3rd, great start for him. Vettel and Alonso getting really poor getaways, but Hamilton, they're staying in the lead. Going well there through that chicane as well, sort of clubbing the chicanes a little bit. Going to be having to look after our tyres, of course, because in the last, well, pretty much since I started, we've been suffering hugely from tyre wear. I think the only track we've been to so far where tyre wear wasn't horrific was, I think, Australia, but that was only really because towards the end of the race no one was actually around me, so you couldn't really tell. Nevertheless, we slightly shortcut that chicane, but yeah, hopefully on these option tyres, I'm hoping these will last till lap 7. That's when I'm going to be pitting for primes, obviously the harder of the compounds. I'm not too fussed about whether they'll survive. I'm pretty sure they will. I've done practice races here at Canada on the prime tyres, and they tend to. But the options, sometimes I am a little bit heavy on those, and in previous races they're clubbing the curbs yet again, which is something we won't want to be doing. And look at that tyre wear already just after 1 and just over a lap as well. And they're already on yellow tyre wear. I'm really going to have to be careful, because that's one thing that has really hindered me all series is tyre wear, especially in Malaysia, costing me at least 5 positions there. Monaco wasn't so bad because it's extremely hard to pass there, but just using the rest of my curves, pretty much all my curves actually down that straight to defend. We've got a decent enough gap from Felipe Massa, but this isn't the lap we'll be looking to hold that position, and we'll be scared of actually losing it. the next lap, and every lap after that is probably the one. This lap in particular here, lap 3, because of course DRS is enabled. Of course it is dry weather conditions, so DRS is enabled on the 3rd lap. No rain yet at all this series, but it is forecasted for the next round in Britain. Nevertheless, Felipe Massa bearing down on me with DRS open. He's going to try and go around the outside. We brake a little bit later. Only a slight overlap there from the Brazilian, and we keep hold of that position. Of course, Felipe Massa, which will actually be driving the car I'm driving next season. Obviously in real life, not on this game, I doubt. I'm not sure how that's even remotely possible. But now, tyre wear starting to kick in just a little bit. It's on orange, but we've still got 3 laps to hold on. And we've already done half our stint so far on, well, no, almost half our stint on these tyres. Halfway through this lap, we'll be halfway through the stint. But we're going to really have to make sure we don't club those curves as we have been in the first 3 laps, because that was pretty awful, to be quite honest. But Felipe Massa and Sebastian Vettel keeping us honest. Lewis Hamilton, though, not getting away despite a little bit of tyre wear and despite being in very much the slower car as we now move on later onto lap 4 at the hairpin. We are going to have to defend ourselves from DRS. I think we might have DRS enabled. I'm not sure. No, we don't, because it was 1.2 seconds to Hamilton, 2 tenths away, using the rest of our curves, but I don't think somehow that's going to cut it, because Felipe Massa is bearing down on us in a carbon copy of last lap, but he's closer, and this time gets the move done even, just miles before the corner. We have a look up the inside, try and make it through, but we're still behind. We haven't got DRS. Felipe Massa still does, as does Vettel behind. Vettel all over us. We've got Felipe Massa up in front. He's getting away with that DRS boost, but we managed to hold on in front of Sebastian Vettel. Of course, Canada, one of the tracks that uses a double DRS zone here, but unfortunately for us, it wasn't for us in the second DRS zone. It was given to Felipe Massa again, because of course he had it in the first activation zone. We are, however, all over the back of Felipe Massa, despite him having that DRS boost. He does look a lot quicker than Lewis Hamilton, so I'm tempted actually to just let him catch Lewis Hamilton and drag me with him even, because I think that could work. Lewis Hamilton, only as fast as me, was by no means getting away from us. It was out the DRS zone, but not actually increasing the gap every lap. So we'll see if Felipe Massa is able to cut down that gap. It looks as if he has already. We'll be looking to be in the DRS zone down this backstretch. So use a little bit more curves down into the hairpin. And we're 8 tenths away from Felipe Massa, so we will have the bonus of DRS down this backstretch. We've still, I think, that's either 6 tenths or 8 tenths, I can't see from this preview, back to Sebastian Vettel, so we shouldn't be coming under threat from him, I don't believe, but it doesn't look as if we're going to be threatening Felipe Massa. We've got DRS. Oh no, we don't, because Sebastian Vettel is going to be threatening us. He's going to try and go around the outside, but no, not quite enough space, and he can't make the move yeah, that made sense the first time, but around the outside, he can't quite do it. We get DRS again there, as we now start lap 6 of this race. And as you can see up in front, Felipe Massa now absolutely all over the back of the Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton. Our plan, or well, it was sort of a plan, it was more a plan not to pass him, combined with the fact that I wasn't quick enough to actually then repass him. But nevertheless, he has come into play, and Felipe Massa has been able to catch Lewis Hamilton, and we are now with them as well in a battle of 3 at the front. We've gone purple by 2 tenths in the first sector. That's ridiculous. Or does it mean I've gone 2 tenths quicker than the last lap? Nevertheless, we've gone purple. Felipe Massa now absolutely all over the back of Lewis Hamilton. We've gone up the inside. I didn't actually mean to, but Felipe Massa slow on the brakes, as would be expected on brakes. That made no sense, but Felipe Massa getting a way better exit than us out of the hairpin, despite us being alongside each other. We should have DRS, but Sebastian Vettel is all over us, even without DRS, just using a bit of curves and slipstream. But he's edged out. I didn't mean to squeeze him. I don't think I did, actually. But he's going into the pits. I do believe we've made a complete hash of that last corner. We've got DRS in the slipstream now against Felipe Massa, who in turn has DRS in the slipstream against Lewis Hamilton. There are a little bit of tyre wear coming into play, but not hugely. And I don't think it's going to catastrophically fail in terms of tyre wear on this final lap. Of course, at the end of this lap, I will be pitting for my prime tyres, the harder compound, just 2 tenths of a second now behind Felipe Massa. Absolutely all over him, but I don't think we're going to pass him before the pit stops, and we don't. In fact, he actually edges out a bit of a gap. We still are in the DRS zone, but we'll be charging now straight ahead into this awesome Montreal pit lane where you can just literally drive flat out into it and it will slow you down. Nevertheless, Lewis Hamilton, though, first into the pits, of course, all 3 of us pitting on this lap. Sebastian Vettel trying the undercut. There was, however, a Red Bull mechanics out, so I'm guessing Mark Webber also came in, but will we get a good pit stop? Those tyres are off, and now a fresh set of primes on another great pit stop at 3.8. We do end up losing out to Hamilton and Massa. Well, I say losing out, we were behind them anyway, but in fact Massa has actually leapfrogged Hamilton. You just saw Vettel there go past on the outside, but this awesome pit lane that Montreal has means that we're easily staying ahead of Sebastian Vettel, despite him using the undercut. But Felipe Massa, they're leapfrogging Lewis Hamilton in the pits, and now he leads for the first time in quite some time, and if you're going to include real-life records. But he is up in third in the championship, but we've done well through there, but we've really just cut the corner. So I edge off a little bit to let Lewis Hamilton back through, because that really would have been an illegal overtake. But we now lunge up the inside with the assist of DRS, and into second place we go, past Lewis Hamilton, who has been struggling on those options tyres. I don't know whether he'll be better on the prime tyres, possibly will be, I don't know whether that comes into effect, but Sebastian Vettel now all over him behind, and we are now in touching distance of Felipe Massa and possibly a win. I haven't even talked about that. We're on the podium for the first time all series. We haven't been on the podium. I don't think even when the pit stops were playing out in any of the races all season that we've been on the podium. Awesome stuff there, setting a personal best compared to the last lap there, I think by 600ths of a second through Sector 2, as we're now at the halfway stage of this race. These fresh prime tyres with absolutely no wear at all, and these guys should easily last until the end of the race. Using a little bit of curves there down into the hairpin just to defend from Lewis Hamilton, just in case he was going to attempt an uncharacteristic AI lunge, as we get a warning for corner cutting there. Lewis Hamilton is going to be seriously under threat from Sebastian Vettel behind us. We use some more curves down the back straight yet again. Lewis Hamilton, though, charging us down. You don't have to be particularly close in these DRS zones to make up that time. Unfortunately, we didn't have DRS against Felipe Massa, but was still in touching distance. And Lewis Hamilton, actually, despite having that DRS zone, has somehow, or the DRS advantage, sorry, has somehow lost out to Sebastian Vettel. And he's lost a shed load of time. He's 2.5 seconds behind us, never mind Felipe Massa. So I don't know what Lewis Hamilton did. I don't know if he hit the wall of champions on the outside. But Sebastian Vettel now makes it up into third and up onto the podium. And Lewis Hamilton, I don't know what the heck's happened, but we're now all over the back of Felipe Massa, having got a great exit out of that chicane. Unfortunately, this isn't really a passing opportunity as we go purple through the first sector yet again. I don't think we'll set a fastest lap of the race because we're not particularly quick around the other two sectors. But in that first sector, we are really strong now as we hit double figures in terms of the lap counter. We are all over the back of Felipe Massa. And we continue to be as we start lap 10 there with the advantage of DRS. We're going to try and go around the outside as Felipe Massa goes defensive, and we do. We're going to be on the marbles, though we've gone wide. A little bit of grass there picked up, but Felipe Massa there, just so cautious on the brakes, as the AIR. I really hope they're not that cautious on the next F1 game. That would be great, but unfortunately, well, we've outbraked ourselves there through that chicane. But going around the outside of Felipe Massa with a great move there on the start of lap 11 means we are, in fact, in the lead. This is so awesome. We're in the lead for the first time all race. I really haven't got that right with the short-term memory span of a goldfish, literally. But nevertheless, we are in the lead ahead of Felipe Massa and Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton starting to catch us up again behind. He's probably half the gap looking at the mini-map, and then I'm going to guess Mark Webber that probably is, although Fernando Alonso and Nico Rosberg should be around somewhere. I haven't seen them for quite some time in this race, but down into the hairpin we go. Around this very slow corner there, getting the apex relatively right there, using a bit of curves on the exit as well. But Felipe Massa, now I've said this on previous laps, and he shouldn't particularly be that close on entrance to the last corner. He's going to charge us down with the advantage of DRS, I do believe, or unless he didn't have it in the first place. But down into the chicane, relatively untroubled for the first time in quite some time, with no tyre wear at all. It's just beautiful to look at, not having any tyre wear. Just progressed a little bit now onto lap 13 here. Unlucky number 13, well, hopefully not in this race, because we are having an absolute stormer. A few cars have joined on this truly train at the back. Lewis Hamilton now has as well. We're down to 21 drivers, so we've lost someone from this race as we go green, as we set a PB compared to the last. Or I don't know if that's personal best across the whole race, or whether that's compared to the last lap, but Felipe Massa is a bit closer on this lap. In theory, the slipstream and curves shouldn't be enough to catch up to us, but of course he has the deadly DRS down into this chicane, and he's going to go round the outside. He gets the move done, but we lunge back up the inside, similar to lap 4, I do believe it was, and Sebastian Vettel now all over him, and there's a trio of them, literally. You could put a tea towel over them and it would fit all over all three cars. Vettel, they're going to try and lunge at Massa, surely, and Lewis Hamilton behind. I think there's a Red Bull there as well. And look how much they've tripped each other up with that series of first few corners. There's another Ferrari there. Fernando Alonso it is. Fernando Alonso is around there somewhere. But I mean, nevertheless, they've just set us free completely by completely tripping over each other into the first few corners. Lewis Hamilton taking second off Felipe Massa, and they're still continuing to. Alonso in there somewhere, Vettel in there somewhere, Mark Webber probably in there somewhere. I think there's 5 cars there on the mini-map having an absolutely awesome battle. Some ways I wish I was there to record it. I bet it would be absolutely fantastic. But I'm not. I'm in the lead of this race on lap 14. We now progress towards the end of lap 15. Nothing happened. We were completely unchallenged by the guys behind. But now Lewis Hamilton in striking distance, back in the DRS zone. He's regained that 2 seconds, looking very quick on those prime tyres. And he looks up around the outside, but he's unable to do anything about it now, with only 3 laps to go as we cross the line in a moment. And we are still in the lead, well on course for a podium, if not a win. However, there are a lot of cars in the train behind, so if our tyres do start to go off, which it doesn't look as if they should based on the current tyre wear, we might just drop down to something like 6th, which would be absolutely horrific given the race we've had so far. I just looked on the minimap actually as we were going through turn 1, and Pastor Maldonado was coming up to being lapped. He's having an absolute shocker of a time. There weren't any cars behind him, so he's down in 21st, but nevertheless more pressing issues. We've completely missed the apex of that chicane, and we've gone wide. Lewis Hamilton now all over the back of us. We've been counting on the fact that we have a slight gap going into the DRS zone, and it doesn't look as if we're going to have that, because Lewis Hamilton now already all over the back of us. Felipe Massa just behind, and then Fernando Alonso, and then Vettel, and a similar looking car, which must be, of course, Mark Webber, unless Jean-Eric Vergne has reached the heights of 6th place, or Daniel Ricciardo, whichever. Not going to be either. You know what? I don't. That's beyond the point. Nevertheless, one of the Ferraris that are either defending from another or going through as Alonso lunged up the inside of his teammate Felipe Massa through the hairpin. We, however, have more pressing issues in this absolutely awesome race for the lead. Lewis Hamilton goes round the outside. We look back up the inside, but we're alongside each other into the chicane. We both make an absolute hash of it as Hamilton bounces across the curbs. And now Fernando Alonso is going to have the slipstream and the DRS against him. Hamilton will too. We're going to have to go defensive against 2 cars. Massa's going to be there as well. Alonso lunges up the inside of Hamilton. And poor old Hamilton, who was looking so good on those prime tyres, has lost out to both Ferraris and both Red Bulls. It's formation flying behind. We've got Alonso in 2nd, Massa in 3rd, and then 2 Red Bulls behind. This is an absolutely immense race. That wasn't a word. I was meant to say immense, and I said immense, but I think you got the point. What a race this is proving to be. 1.3 seconds now ahead of the absolute gaggle. An absolutely awesome looking Trulli train behind. And we're in the lead. We're causing the Trulli train, and it's just absolutely awesome to watch behind. On the penultimate lap of the race, of course, we've only got 2 laps to hold on, but a little bit of a bad exit there, and now Fernando Alonso absolutely all over the back of it. He's going to look up the inside into the hairpin where he passed Massa the previous lap, and my goodness me, he would have passed Massa at the hairpin, then Hamilton down at turn 1, and then me at the hairpin the previous time. That would have been an absolutely awesome lap for him, but he's in the DRS zone again. We've got no DRS, we've got no curves left, and we're just a sitting duck, a sitting target. As Alonso goes round the outside, we plonk ourselves right in the middle of the track, but Alonso goes through, he makes it round the outside. He's got a bad exit though, but he continues to have DRS. We're going to get in the slipstream. Massa's got DRS behind, so we're going to have to defend from him whilst trying to get past Alonso, and we lunge back up the inside of Alonso where we passed Hamilton earlier. We've got the outside line. Oh my goodness, Alonso with the inside line. We're still alongside each other. Massa just laughing behind. On this final lap of the race, what a last lap this is going to be. We go round the outside of Fernando Alonso through the chicane. Going to have to use a rich fuel mixture to hold these guys off, because this is absolutely ridiculous. Now in the lead, we've hit that. Oh no, we haven't. We have not hit that apex. We've gone completely wide. Alonso absolutely all over us, really testing our worth here in the lead of this race. What a climax this is going to be. We're in the lead, Alonso behind, followed by about 17 cars. We get a huge snap of oversteer out of that chicane. Maldonado, still the last of the cars out on track. He's having an absolute mare of a day, but we're into the hairpin with only 2 corners to go. We should be fine, but we are, bearing in mind, heading into this DRS zone where we've been absolutely creamed by the opposition every single lap. But this one time, the most important of all times perhaps, we have enough of a gap to hold on, I think. Fernando Alonso closing us down, but he's going to be nowhere near us down into the chicane. We've just got to make sure we don't hit the wall of champions on the outside. We don't, and oh my goodness, it looks like we're going to win. The Williams road to recovery has fully started with a win, our first podium and our first win at Williams. The objective, which I didn't notice, was finish 2nd or above. Well, we've done that triumphantly on the top step of the podium. Absolutely bossly race. That was incredible. I think that beats Malaysia, purely because of the stakes that were on show. We win the race. Fernando Alonso in second with teammate Massa third. Vettel there fourth ahead of Hamilton, who got past Webber in the last few laps. Rosberg there seventh. Raikkonen eighth ahead of Hülkenberg. And Sergio Perez getting the final point just ahead of Grosjean. And Perez's fellow countryman Esteban Gutierrez. Button recovering to 13th, but still no points for him. As for Toro Rosso, all Force India, and Maldonado way down in 19th. So let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton still leading the way by only 4 points now from Vettel. 16 points behind Hamilton now is Felipe Massa, the captain of consistency. Rosberg there in 4th ahead of Alonso and Raikkonen. But incredibly, we are up into 7th. We've passed not only Hülkenberg, but both McLarens after they had an absolute shocker of a weekend here in Canada. Perez there down in 8th, Button now 9th. Webber also moving past Hülkenberg as well, who only gets 2 points. And unfortunately for him, that drops him 2 places down the pecking order in the Drivers' Championship. He is, however, ahead of Esteban Gutierrez, Grosjean, and Pastor Maldonado. Looking at the Constructors' Championship, though, Mercedes still leading the way despite Ferrari's resurgence in the last 2 rounds, with a 1-2 and then a 2-3 here at Canada. I forgot the name of the country then for a moment. Red Bull there third, McLaren fourth out of Lotus, but Williams now up into 6th. And 11 points, I do believe, ahead of Sauber. We've done a great job, and here are the celebrations of me winning my first ever race here at Williams, the first race of my career. What a race it was, a really worthy win. Not very often you get those wins where it was an absolute joy to be part of it. And great battles up near the front, as my guy goes absolutely ham and celebrates there with Fernando Alonso. But what a race that was, not just one of those leading from the fronts for the entire races. It was absolutely magnificent, but nevertheless, like and subscribe for that awesome win there at that awesome race. Comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed it that much. I hope you have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.